not the least, our individual actions, the choices we make on daily basis with our consumption, with water, with food systems, lifestyle, and so on. All of this will determine what we leave for our future generations. So growing with less, embrace.
Welcome to Enrich 2023. Enrich this time is happening in a very different context when the energy transition is truly on. In the year 2022, we had the global investments in clean energy exceed that in fossil fuels. But then it is not enough. The world needs to come together and make a bigger difference happen. We need to triple our investments, as we heard being talked about at the G20 summit. And this is the context in which Enrich is happening. Bring the world together, speakers from across the world together, thoughts from across the world together, intergenerational participants. And we start Enrich with Leaders 2050, where we have the youth of the future talk about what they want from the planet, how they want to see the planet, what difference they are going to make to the planet. We go on from there to actually the Innovation Summit, which is something which we have never done before. We have had the Startup Awards, but now we have a full-scale Innovation Summit where we are bringing academia, innovators, researchers, entrepreneurs, policymakers, and industry together to find ways to make that change which I talked about happen in reality, and happen in a manner which is secure, which is affordable, which is sustainable, which makes energy truly accessible and benign for the world, for the planet. We follow the Innovation Summit with a full-scale conference day, which is going to again bring the best minds from across the world, from within KPMG as well as from outside, to make the points that need to be heard about by the world across the board, from policymakers, from the industry, and from common citizens. We are going to talk about how we need to grow, but we need to grow with as little as possible so the planet stays a good place to live in, a habitable place to live in. We are at serious risk in the planet because there's so much of headwinds which we are facing to change. There's so much of misery, there's so much of trouble, there's so much of consequences of global warming. But then, we are the most inventive creatures on the planet. This is what humans are. So when we pull all of that together, our minds together, and make action happen, then we can find a way to get across this. Enrich is a platform for that. It is your platform. And I'm looking forward to all of us working together today, tomorrow, day after, and the times to come on this platform to make a difference. Thank you and welcome to Enrich 2023.
So the online avatar of Anish interrupted me, but I think he succinctly articulated how we have conceived Enrich 2023, the 14th edition. And I think the 2-3 points resonate very well. To reiterate, innovation has always been part of Enrich, but it has never happened at this scale, that we have dedicated a complete day to this, and we call this Innovation Summit today. We do have goosebumps. Several of us, we have been talking, we do have, but we are hopeful that this will go well. And this hope is from belief that if the world has to succeed in this race, innovation must take the center stage, and that we all need to come together, dropping the boundaries, collapsing all the limits, challenging the limits of the possible. So we have an action-packed agenda ahead of us and some stimulating conversations for the day. We begin with a keynote address with Mr. Harsh Mariwala, founder and chairman, Marico Industries, followed by an energetic panel of young innovators who share their stories, their lessons, their experiences. Then we move to the ministerial session where Honorable Minister Shri Dharmendra Pradhan join us along with Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission. Followed by that, we move to an open panel, a leaders forum where leaders from academia, industry, and policy fronts talk about how we can deliver innovation at scale. And the last session is the Startup Awards, where we celebrate innovation and felicitate some of the innovative startups. Now with this, let me move to the first session of the day on investing in an innovation, and let me call upon Anish Day, Global ENR Leader, KPMG International, and our keynote speaker, Mr. Harsh Mariwala, Founder and Chairman, Marico Industries. We are truly honored to have you with us. Anish, Mr. Mariwala, please. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Vikas, and thank you for that jazz. The team insisted that we have that jazz coming in, but hopefully it wasn't something which was distracting. It was succinct enough, as Vikas has kindly commented. So we are absolutely delighted to have Mr. Harsh Mariwala, Chairman of Marico Industries, and Chair of the Marico Innovation Foundation, among other philanthropic activities which he undertakes. It's one of the first organizations, and he was one of the first entrepreneurs who actually took the whole thing of sustainable investment completely to a different level. And when we requested him to be with us, he very kindly acceded. He's not just an entrepreneur, he's also an author. So he has written books, including with Mr. Ramcharan, which is there with us today. And, it's something which is very close to heart. We have been talking about in the earlier session when we had the Leaders 2050 about people-centric innovation. And I think that's something which, as you look at his work and his, the activities of his foundation, you realize that it is all about people-centric innovation. So, his heart is at innovation, people-centric innovation. He's never hesitated to take the path less traveled. As I said, when he started some of these things, they were not quite as in vogue as it is today. And today we want to hear about his journey into investing in these frontier areas which keep the world a better place to live in for our generation, and equally more importantly for the future generations. Just before this, we had a room full of young leaders from KPMG as well as elsewhere from across the world. And the one thing which caught our attention was that the optimism and the willingness to step up to the dialogue with an optimistic framework, which is so different from some of the voices which we hear about, pessimistic voices which we hear. And similarly, the work which Mr. Mariwala's foundation, including the Ascent Foundation and others, the health initiatives which he's taken, it just keeps the world a very, very positive place to be in. So without further ado, let me invite Mr. Mariwala, and we'll go with your format, sir. We want an address, but if you are willing to take some questions, then I'm sure people will have. Please.
Good afternoon to all of you. I'm happy to be here in front of you and talking on a subject which I'm very passionate about, because it has played a very important role in my personal journey, in my business journey. And if I had to capture what made us succeed in the marketplace, I would say one short word: innovation, because it's a highly competitive business environment. And those days the competition was much lesser, but today, as the competition has increased, you have to create a very strong right to win. And that right to win can only come in if you have a differentiated proposition. And that differentiated proposition will only come out of innovative approach. So, first part of my talk, maybe 10-15 minutes, I'll talk about how Marico turned innovative. And the second would be on how innovation we are leveraging it for giving it something back to the society through our Marico Innovation Foundation. So, started in a very, very small way, almost in terms of, we have a lot of foreign delegates here, so I'm talking in terms of US dollars, we must be knowing a turnover of $80,000. when I started business, and today it's become much, much bigger. But if I had to look at our journey, whenever we innovated and that innovation has succeeded, it has had a discontinuous impact on our growth plans. And mind you, I have failed many, many times. So innovation just doesn't mean that every time you innovate, you're going to succeed. Failure is a part and parcel of innovation, and out of every failure, we have learned something and leveraged that learning for launching something else which has been innovative for future. So, a brand like Parachute, I don't know how many of you, and most Indians would know because it's very widely used. But for non-Indians, it's pure coconut oil. And it's very widely used in India. And used by all incomes, all ages. So it has very, very wide usage. And I mean, today we sell something like 70 to 80 million bottles every month. So it's that wide. But how did we reach there? And when we launched, we were not the first movers in this. There were many other players. And we launched it initially through our marketing inputs, distribution, better quality. We got some market share to the extent of 10-15%. And that time we started stagnating in terms of market share. And we said that if we have to increase market share, what can we do to disrupt the market? I am talking of now mid-90s. And the whole market for coconut oil was in tins. And that time we said that can we convert that market from tin to plastics. Plastics is cheaper than tins. It's relatively more attractive. It's convenient to pour. So we thought we had a winner on hands. And normally in a consumer-facing business, one does a lot of inciting. Inciting with your ultimate customers, your intermediates, like in our case, intermediates would be our distributors, retailers, and then the final customer. So when we went to the final customer, they all loved the idea, saying, yes, it looks good. But when we went to the retailers, they just rejected that idea because they said that prior to us, maybe 10 years prior to us, somebody else had launched coconut oil in plastics, which was a disaster because they had not done a good job in terms of packing it. There was a lot of oil on the outer surface of the bottle. And when the retailer closed the shop and opened next morning, the retailer realized that all the rats had bitten away the product. So not only the product was destroyed, but the shop also got damaged. So virtually saying that please don't launch, we are not going to store. So how do we reach the final customer? In those days there was no e-commerce or direct ways of reaching the customers. So we went back to our drawing board and we discussed with our vendors, can we design a bottle which is difficult for the rat to get a grip? Went to our packaging department, can you ensure that not a single drop of oil is on the outer surface of the bottle? So we thought we had cracked that, but ultimately you need to ensure that this doesn't happen. And we needed to have the courage of conviction that if we went to the shop and told them this will work, we should be fully convinced. Not only we, but our field force and the whole system should be fully convinced. So we actually packed a few bottles and kept them in a rat cage for a day. And nothing happened to the product. So we were very confident. We took pictures and we showed that pictures to our field force and convinced the retailers, please store. And if there is any damage, we'll compensate you. So that's how our journey in plastics began. And it took almost 5 to 7 years for us to crack this market. And in that bargain, we increased our market share from 10 to 15% to straight away 50%. Because the consumers loved the idea. The plastics was cheaper than tins. By the time the competitors reacted, it took longer time. We went on advertising because we were making more margins in plastics compared to tin. And that led us to market leadership. We did multiple innovations in this same, through packaging. So coconut oil freezes in winter, so we had, people would go back to tins in winter, so we came with a wide mouth plastic jar and things like that. But what I'm trying to say, in a relatively simple product like coconut oil, we were able to drive this innovation. We didn't give up in spite of opposition, and that has led to the brand it is. So many years back, later we went to Bangladesh and realized that the whole market was dominated by local players in tins. And we said that, can we do the same thing in Bangladesh? And it's a very large market in Bangladesh also. So we went through that route, and today we have an 80% market share in Bangladesh market. And because of our innovations in packaging, we were able to succeed. So my belief in innovation went on and I'm just giving one example. There are multiple examples, but we don't have so much time. So I'll just say that I had a very strong belief that we have to innovate. And one example of failure I'll give, one other brand we have is Saffola. We identified Saffola as in healthy foods. And we identified baked snacks as a way to enter the market about 10-15 years back. And we were the first ones to enter baked snacks. Now, Saffola brand stands good for health. So our R&D team and our marketing team said that this product has to be healthy. So health came first and taste came second. Now, in an impulsive category like snacks, the consumer rejected because to them, taste is first. Health is important, but not as important as taste. We had to withdraw the product. So in spite of being a first mover in baked snacks, we had to withdraw the products because of a wrong kind of inciting saying that health has to be more important than taste. So a few years later, we said that can we launch oats in the same brand. So we launched Saffola oats, plain oats, and we started fighting with Quaker and Kellogg's. And we again got 10-15% market share. And then we said that what do we need to do? Because our desire in whatever areas we operate, we want to be market leader. And if you look at Marico, whatever we are doing, we are market leaders. How do we become market leaders is a big challenge in oats. And we needed a differentiator. So we said that can we do a range of savory oats. Indians like savory breakfast, not sweet breakfast. What Maggi did to noodles, can we do the same to oats? So we launched a whole series of masala oats and tomato oats and things like that. But on this front, we went overboard on taste. We profiled tastes of each and every state in India and made a matching product suiting that state's needs. And we have a winner on hands. We have, in that category of masala oats, we have an 80% market share. From nowhere, the category is, in the last few years, has become about 400 crore category. But that failure earlier of baked snacks made us go over aggressive on taste front when we launched masala oats, and that's helped us. So how do you create a culture of innovation was a larger issue, And I think for any organization to be innovative, you need to have very good talent. So we were very clear that we need to have best quality talent. It has to be diverse in terms of different parts of the country, outside the country, gender diversity, educational diversity, because that diversity brings in different thought processes. We have to be very empowering because we empower individuals. Innovation just doesn't happen at the top level or in R&D labs. It happens across the organization. I may get an idea, I'll discuss with somebody else. So we believe strongly in openness and trust. And then on top of that, we have to encourage people to experiment. The fear of failure is the biggest deterrent to innovation in any organization. And that fear of failure is very, very real. It's more real amongst youngsters, those who are passing out of, say, management schools, because they don't want to have a failure on their biodata. So they will be cautious. They want to do market research and, cover their, basically they want to be safe. And we have to break that kind of a mindset that you have to be, it's okay to fail because from failures you'll get learnings, So any organization has to remove the fear of failure and encourage individuals to go on experimenting. And that's what we try to do. And the role of top management is to go on demanding innovation, have creativity workshops. We also have internal innovation awards, wherein we invite entries from innovative entries within the organization, and on an average about 6 to 7 best entries get award, and they talk at forums like this in terms of how that innovation happened. So when you reinforce innovation from different angles, then you create a culture of innovation. And it's easier said than done, but it is something which needs a lot of persistence, a lot of energy, effort, but ultimately it has a huge payback because you need to innovate. Any organization, any company needs to innovate on a perpetual basis. You can't just say, I've innovated once and that's it, because it's a matter of time others will copy you. So you have to be 2 steps ahead of others in the area of innovation. So that's as far as Marico is concerned. Now I'll move on to Marico Innovation Foundation, which is our way of giving something back to, it's mainly for India, to Indian businessmen, Indian society. We ourselves had benefited a lot from innovation, so we said that can we do this to others? And I'm talking of, we did this 20 years back, Marico Innovation Foundation. At that time, innovation was not on the top of the agenda of CEOs. It was new, but it was not on top of the agenda. Today, if you ask any CEO, how important is innovation? It is there in the top 2-3 items they have to run. Today there may be climate change and other event, but innovation is still on top of that. And we did that many, many years back. So since then we've been doing Innovation for India awards, where we get entries from business, non-business, social sectors. And I strongly believe that in India, if some of the challenges we are facing, we can take a quantum jump in those areas of education, healthcare, agriculture. If you use innovation combined with today's whole set of technologies which have emerged in the recent past, there are ways of actually making a quantum jump in these areas. And just like mobiles made a quantum jump by no need for having landlines, I think we see a similar opportunity for innovation, at least in these 3 big challenges in India, including climate control and all that. So, in that sense, we have been supporting innovative organizations. On average, we work with 15 to 20 organizations who want to scale up. Because one other thing we realized was that many organizations, social organizations, business organizations, they had a very good idea, but they didn't know how to scale up. And either they were controlling too much, they were not employing talent. So we have a whole set of individuals who work with these 15, 20 organizations, and depending on the kind of challenge they're facing, it could be a marketing challenge, it could be a people challenge, it could be a manufacturing challenge. We have a cross-functional team which works with them in helping them scale up. And I think that's shown very good results. We created some unicorns also out of that. So I think that's one other initiative of Marico Innovation Foundation. And then last few years, we started doing sectoral studies. So we did first study in during COVID times, and this was a completely virtual way of doing it. So we announced awards for Indian organizations to come up with innovative solutions to COVID challenge in the area of masks, in the area of ventilators, and we got some phenomenal winners, and they were able to offer the same thing in India at a much, much lower cost compared to being imported from some other country. And of late, about a year back or year and a half back, we said that we have gained a lot from plastics. But as an organization, whenever I've spoken at different events, one question which comes to me is that, what are you doing about plastic wastage, So we said that, can we do something on that? And so we commissioned a study with 2 research organizations to identify innovative companies who are doing work in the area of plastics. So some of them are sorting machines using plastics for some other reuse, and we have one innovator here just with us in our audience here who is a part of that winner. And we have 14 winners, and what we now want to do is we want to help them depending on the challenge they're facing. We want to work with municipal corporations we want to prototype at least municipal corporations where there's a big challenge of wastage collection, sorting, and then selling it to the end user industry. And that's how we will prototype that in a few towns. Yesterday I had a meeting with Niti Aayog and they are very, very excited about this approach, but I'm here to succeed. The biggest challenge in this is how do you collect the waste in the right way? We have identified some machines which are phenomenal. Very high-speed machines, they process something like 6 tons per hour, and they are able to sort out through artificial intelligence different types of plastics. Even the brands-wise sorting can be done. So we think that we have a good thing, but the whole objective in doing this plastic research study is to ensure that we make an impact and not just do the study and, it's not a research paper. So our current initiatives, our efforts are to ensure that we use this to make an impact. The problem is huge. And today, if you ask any company, even FMCG companies, our competitors, they are all very keen to do something. Even the government is keen. So there is, I think, in terms of time, we believe that we are at the right moment. And if you are able to leverage these innovations in plastics, I think we will be making some impact. We will definitely need support of many other companies. We can't do it alone. It's a huge problem. But the good thing is that if you do it in the right way, and I reckon that it's possible that it does not require too much funding. If you educate the household to sort out that waste and have the right collection systems and sorting machinery, there are buyers for reused plastics. We ourselves buy them. I think a lot can be self-funded. And I think that's what this experiment will do. We will take one small town of 5 lakh or 10 lakh population and prototype that. And if it is successful, even Niti Aayog has mentioned that we would help you scale it up with many more municipal corporations. So this is our way of giving something back to the society. Hopefully this will succeed. But I think these are my thoughts on innovation. I think innovation is very, very critical to all our challenges. And even to organizations, if they have to create a right to win. Even social organizations, philanthropies, there are opportunities for innovation. So with that, I end my talk. If there are any questions, if there is time, most happy to take them. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I'm sure the audience has questions. I certainly do, because it's a fascinating journey from using plastics to dealing with plastics in a manner which is, overcomes the challenges of that. But I just want to go, as we start, I have a first question to put, where is the greatest innovation happening? Is it happening with the startups, or is it happening with industry, mainstream industry? Is it happening in more the incubators, which are, or the academic organizations? Where is that you're seeing the greatest traction?
So I think it's happening, you're right, it's happening more with startups, smaller organizations, because larger companies have their own bureaucracies. They have a bigger challenge in terms of how to overcome these processes sometimes can come in the way. But smaller entrepreneurs, and if you see many of the unicorns which have happened I reckon that a lot of them would be through innovative approaches, So if you had
to make a choice,
speculate, definitely it'll be startups and small and medium scale industries. Okay. But not all of them. These are more, I think people should have that internal desire to win, hunger, and that grit, because there will be setbacks. Every person in this world has setbacks in life.
Right.
You may have passion, but if you don't have the grit, you will just give it up. If you have the grit, you will bounce back. And you will bounce back much more aggressively after that failure.
Right. So you mentioned that this has changed quite sharply in the last few years. So if I had to just dimension this and ask you to give a score, 10 years back, out of 10, how much score would you give to the innovation ecosystem versus today? What would be your scoring?
Innovations.
Yeah.
I think it increased dramatically for a few reasons. One is we have seen a lot of new youngsters coming in. The whole ecosystem for entrepreneurship has emerged in the last 5 years.
Right.
With so many successes, so many new technologies coming in. In our business, the whole D2C space, where all of a sudden ours was perceived to be the most defensive sector, where there were huge entry barriers because of distribution network, because of huge advertising budgets, and all that got wiped out because one could launch a brand through through Amazon. You can do digital marketing, which doesn't require that much budgets. So we started seeing a lot of emergence, and mostly these are youngsters who come in. Young, when I'm saying young, below 35, 30 years age, And many of them coming from small towns also, And combine that with all the technologies which have emerged. So I would say it has increased substantially compared to what it was maybe 10 years back, you said?
Yeah.
I would say 3x to 4x. Yeah.
Okay, that's very substantial. And just to that point which you make, and I'll open this floor up to the audience, but we have been going through our KPMG startup. We have been engaging quite extensively. This platform, Enrich, for the last 4-5 years has been doing it, and the awards are in the third thing. First couple of years, we didn't have the courage to do an award, but now, when we do this, we are having, we had to split the category between revenue-earning startups and pre-revenue startups. And we were just absolutely wowed by the kind of innovation seeing even from pre-revenue startups. And they're there. There are 3 of them are upstairs for each category. Okay. They are being showcased here. They are the winners whom we felicitate this evening. But we have just been absolutely wowed by even the progress we have seen in the last 3-4 years. So to their point. Questions from the audience? Yes, Millie. Just get the mic over here, please. Just a quick intro and then...
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. My name is Millie Majumdar. I head research and innovation of US Green Building Council. So, which is...
US Green Business Council.
So we do, certification for green buildings globally. So, one thing is that you spoke about innovation, and right now we are also talking about a lot of cross-cutting issues. There is a huge challenge around resilience, equity, health, well-being. And innovation has to be a blend of, sustainability and all these other factors. So how does your organization, look at innovation in a integrated and a holistic way? You spoke about plastics, for example, and changing the packaging from tin to plastic, and you are talking now about kind of recycling the plastic bag and giving it back as something to the society. But as an organization, you are kind of producing that waste, right? And then maybe taking back a part of it. So how do you as an organization look at, extended producer responsibility, that whatever you're generating, at least you are kind of taking back that much, not polluting. So what are those things?
So it's a tricky question. Let me answer it. So you're right. I think that guilt feeling should not be there, that, we are generating something more and, it's going to waste, I wish I had a good answer to your question. Ultimately, there will be some options to plastics, but many of the options today, bioplastics and all, are there, but they are frightfully expensive. And for example, if I, as a conscious capitalist, decide to say that I will only go in with bioplastics, and all my competitors don't do it, and I have to pay double the price for packaging, they will be able to price their product at a much lower price point. I will lose the market share. So ultimately, what will happen? It is not accepted by the consumer to have that higher price, unless I have a very, very niche kind of product at a very high end where the number of bottles I require are not as many. So the key question today is that, the alternates to plastics are few. If I could go back to tin, but again, it's very expensive. Unfortunately, there are not many options available as a businessman. Even if I decide, as I said, from a purpose point of view that I will not do it, I will have to close down my business. And somebody else will thrive at my cost. I'm not resolving the problem. So, but I have to do whatever best I can in promoting the circular economy, ensuring that this gets reduced. And plastics, in this report, I think we will send you the, what you call, QR code. Huh? So you can actually access that report. Anybody can access. I don't have it here. But if you read, there are 14 innovators. And some of the innovations also include converting plastics into fuel and things like that. So, plastic, one is reused plastics and converting plastics, and then, I think reused plastics into making benches and things like that. So there are multiple options which this research studies has thrown out, and hopefully it will mean over a period of time much lesser landfills, and we would have done some justice to this problem, but I can't say we will be fully doing justice to to the amount of plastics we are using.
Right. So, Dr. Ramkumar, and maybe that and more or less we close. The mic, if could be given to Dr. Ramkumar.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Mariwala. I think it's always a pleasure to hear you. In Indian Oil also, we invited you and we listened to you in the past.
Indian Oil.
Indian Oil.
I was the director R&D till recently of Indian Oil.
Yeah, so this is an innovation summit and you spoke about innovation. Innovation in academia and innovation in industry. Especially when innovation in industry comes, there's a great debate. Some people denigrate incremental innovation and some people wait and vouch for disruptive innovations. But you can argue for and against these two subjects of incremental innovation as well as disruptive innovations. What, in your opinion, who practiced innovation to a great consequence, do you also vouch for disruptive innovation, or you would go with incremental innovation and look it as a summation of incremental innovation for the benefit of the industry?
It's a very good question. I strongly believe that any organization has to pursue innovation. Innovation should be thought through by every person in the organization. And one should not get carried away by incremental innovation because it will have some impact. There is a feel-good factor within the organization. I have done something which has, maybe it has simplified a process, it need not be a new product, and some other myth is that innovation is only new products. It's not necessarily a new product, it is just, I'll give you an example of many years back, and now I'm talking of in our factory, again coconut oil. We used to get complaints, I'm talking of 30 years back. We used to get complaints of some bottles from our retailers saying that in this carton, one bottle was empty. So, on the filling line, maybe it just got missed out. So one worker at that time, we didn't have all the sensors and all that, said, why don't you put a fan after all the bottles are filled in the packaging line? And the fan just ensured that the empty bottle just flew away. So simple innovation. But I'm saying that many times the innovations are very, very simple and one should not get worried about incremental, non-incremental. Now, to answer your other question, if there is a truly disruptive innovation you've identified, it's like going to the moon or whatever, I'm just saying, then you need a different approach. You need a different approach because then you need to remove escape buttons. If you think that you really have something good, you need to have a very good talent team, not doing anything else, only doing this, because normally in corporate life there are escape buttons. I am doing this plus the management has asked me to do this plus this. And then when you have 2-3 different things to do, then all your attention is not on that particular subject. So for disruptive innovations, you need to have a separate team, remove escape buttons, very high quality team, give them the resources, put them in a different location so they are not getting carried away, remove all the bottlenecks of bureaucracy within that team so that things move fast. Agility is very important. I think COVID has taught us that a vaccine which took 8 to 10 years can be made in 2 years. So remove all the obstacles to innovation and then let that team pursue that disruptive innovations. But for that you need to identify what is the disruptive innovation. You should have the building blocks to crack that innovation.
Thank you. That's all we have time for, but Mr. Mariwala, we'll get the QR code and put it up tomorrow or maybe even later today. From your office, we'll get it up and put it up because I think it'll be really good to read about that. So thank you for sharing your views. One thing I think you said, which is inherent into Billy's question as well, the consumer doesn't give up utility, whether it's from a price or a product. So I think we have to work around that because it's not easy to make a consumer to give up utility. So I think somewhere in innovation needs to keep that in mind. Vikas.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mariwala, for sharing your life experiences. and strengthening our belief in the India innovation story. So let me ask Anish to present a token of our appreciation to Mr. Mariwala, please. So copies of Mr. Mariwala's book, Harsh Realities, have been placed at the entry gate. If you wish to pick up a copy, do so, please. Thank you. Thank you. So while the changeover is happening, we will, just for everyone, we will now go directly into Young Innovators Panel, where some really interesting startups will talk about their views on building a responsible and purposeful business. Now, Anish was talking about the startup awards that we had. Anish was talking about the startup awards that we had. I think 2-3 points that came out when we were looking at all the new startups that I want to share with the audience. One, I think we saw more and more startups moving out of labs and integrating with the business. This was all through with the startups, pre-revenue, revenue, very closely aligned to the business. Second, startups very deep skilled and research based, yet firmly eyed on the commercial potential. That was seen all through. And the last was a lot more confidence. Confidence in starting new and taking risks. So while the setup is happening, let me now invite Akhilesh Tuteja, our clients and markets lead and global cybersecurity lead for KPMG, to moderate the session. Knowing Akhilesh, we are looking for a fascinating conversation. So Akhilesh, welcome. Let me also call upon the innovators. Pankaj Sharma, co-founder and chief of climate action, Log9 Material. Can you please join? Rishabh Sood, co-founder and chief technology officer, BluSmart Mobility. Radhika Chaudhary, co-founder, Ricron Panel. And Amit Priyadarshan, CEO, Caliche. So a warm welcome to all the panelists, and Akhilesh, over to you.
All right.
right, thank you very much. I must start with a confession that these sofas are way too comfortable, so I should learn to sit the way Radhika is sitting. I didn't know that Anish and team always wanted me to sit on the edge, so I'm now on the edge, almost feels like a cliff. First of all, thank you very much for joining us here today, and my warm welcome to all the wonderful young innovators, except one of them here is not young. Do you know who's not young here? Who said you? Can we take them out, please? All right. Okay, certainly one of us here is not young, and I just want to introduce the person who's oldest in the room is Rishabh. He just said that he's the oldest one here. Did you not say that?
I said I look the oldest.
You look the oldest, okay,
Yeah.
and all right.
Yeah, I mean, so when I started BluSmart, I had perfectly black hair.
Okay.
And they've somewhat grayed in the period of, 3 to 4 years. So I think it's between me and you, I'm not sure who looks the oldest. We can put it to a vote.
Your gray might be for some deficiency. I don't want to introduce, if you want to look like a wise consultant, L'Oreal smoky silver hair color. That's the secret of my success as a consultant. All right, so as we can now see that I am not the oldest person here, with Rishabh having taken the crown. I'm glad that all of you are here today to talk to us about young innovation. And my name is Akhilesh. I would try and act like a consultant, as all of these guys are innovators. I did think about this panel as before coming in here, only for about 17 minutes. So I have a handicap that all of these guys are working in the business for many, many years, and I have a bit of disadvantage, but I'm a consultant. And as you know that consultants have a way of not knowing anything, not doing anything, but get to the center stage. So the way some of you must have saw that I kind of moved myself from being on the corner to the center stage, so that's being consultant. I actually was looking at what are the differences between an innovator and a consultant, for those of you who don't know. The big difference between an innovator and consultant is that innovators tell you what you don't know, and consultants tell you what you already know. Another big difference between consultant and innovator is that innovators are very narrow but very deep. Okay, so I call them that the inch wide and mile deep, and consultants are mile wide and inch deep. So I'm also one of those who can bluff around a little bit on every topic, but I may not have the depth. And of course, there's a third big difference between consultant and innovator, but that's for the end of the panel. I'm delighted. I'm delighted to have the company of such amazing people, and I've had the opportunity to learn a little bit about their life stories. So let me get out of the way for you guys, and let me start asking the first question to all my co-panelists today is to what is the big problem you're trying to solve? So Radhika, first you.
I think the big problem that we're trying to solve is affordable housing in a sustainable way. So at Ricron, we recycle waste plastics that are hard to recycle and convert them into construction panels. These panels are used as a substitute to timber, cement, and steel. So recently we did 300 houses for the rack picker community in South India, and each house was 800 square feet and only 3.5 lakh rupees per house. And there was no timber, no steel, and no cement used, and a very quick built up of the house too.
That's an amazing story. How do you build affordable housing? Thank you so much. Let me up the game talking to Pankaj. And Pankaj, what is the big problem you're trying to solve?
Very clearly, we envision a world where we should not get that energy from dead plant and juices that are there in the earth, but there is a sun up in the sky, and there is a wind that flows through all of us. And the only way to deplug and wean ourselves off from that juice that emits all the carbon dioxide is to capture that sun, capture that solar, capture that wind energy. But where you store all of that is going to be the Achilles heel. And in my opinion, lithium ion is the new oil. And we're very proud that we are India's first company that makes its own lithium ion cells. And with that, I think we have given a shot to this country to make its own lithium ion cells, its own batteries, its own technologies.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Round of applause for what Pankaj is doing.
He reminded me of when I walk past the subways which say that we bake our own bread. So you guys are doing, I'll come to you saying, why do you do that? Because if it's easier and cheaper to buy bread elsewhere, why do you bake it yourself? But before that, let me turn to Rishabh. Rishabh, everybody knows, actually most of the Indians in this room know what you do, but what is the biggest problem you are trying to solve?
I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and I'm sure many of you would have kids as well, right? The biggest problem that we face today, in my view, is the amount of pollution which we have in India, Delhi being a prime example, and the bigger idea is to create a pollution-free environment for them to grow in. And we are doing that by running a completely electric fleet. So we are India's largest electric mobility fleet, which is running out there. Apart from that, we are also trying to reduce stress in people's life by making mobility simpler, just your cabs arriving on time, drivers not cancelling on you. So those are the smaller problems, but the larger problem is, creating a pollution-free environment for everyone. So that's the bigger high-level objective which we are solving.
Thank you, Rishabh. A round of applause for Rishabh. Although he just committed a crime by saying on today, the World Mental Health Day, he's saying that the stress is a smaller problem than keeping our air clean. I wish I could say that, but the amount of stress which I carry, but that's okay. So Rishabh actually met with me and he said that, the biggest problem I solve is that I can cover the whole world east to west. I take people from one end to another one. And while he finished his sentence, the person sitting next, he says, what are you talking about 2-dimension? हम तो आकाश से पाताल cover करते हैं. So for those of my non-Hindi speaking friends, he covers from the bottom of the core crust of the earth and right up to the satellite. So Amit, tell us what is the biggest problem you are trying to solve.
Thank you. To be very honest, as a startup, the only biggest problem that you ever try to solve is try to survive first. After that is sorted, we are trying to build technologies that can capture carbon from flue gas in the industry using microorganisms at a very low cost here in India that can be scaled globally. So that is one problem that we are trying to solve, and we have been relatively successful in that. And an interesting problem that we are trying to solve is using the same microorganisms to consolidate lunar soil on the surface of moon, and we have signed an MOU with ISRO to do that so that we can have sustainable construction maybe on exoplanets. So interestingly, the technology is same, applications are different. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that thunderous applause for Amit. Let me turn to Rishabh. Having understood what the biggest problem they're trying to solve, I want to dig a little bit deeper into the journey in terms of how has the journey been so far? Tell us a little bit about those ups and downs.
So, it all started with, I think we used to take cabs quite a lot, and, the experience which it used to be a great experience many years back, but then it kind of started degrading. You had to kind of negotiate with your drivers, ki, please aa jao, please come, please take an online payment, etc. So that was a huge problem, and then we figured out why not solve it ourselves, and we were always into clean energy, right? So then we figured let's solve it with EVs. So that is how the genesis kind of came into place. So we said we'll do electric mobility app, and a lot of people told us, "Ki, there is a Uber, there is a Ola. You are too small. You'll not be able to do it, right? It's a game of scale." But we gradually got there, started small. So we figured out that, when you are starting small, you cannot do on-demand ride hailing. You need to do scheduled ride model. So we started, we actually then realized that scheduling is actually better. If you are going from home to office every day at the same time and office to home, you're better off actually pre-booking a ride and the car coming and you not having to worry about, okay, I'm taking a bath, I'm having breakfast, simultaneously I'm trying to book a ride, etc. So that's how we built, and I think the model really picked up, people told us that scheduling will not work, but people really adopted it very well, and it's been an upward journey since then. We actually spend very, very less on marketing. You know, we hardly less than 5% of our revenue actually goes into marketing. So it's been purely word of mouth growth for us, and I'm sure a lot of people here are also would be our users. So would like to thank everyone also for that.
Thank you so much. I think that certainly is one thing true. I can say that I'm also your word of mouth advocate, being a user for a fairly long time, and I can say that it beats many other players in the industry. So thank you so much for doing it at scale, at the clean level, and also with less stress. Same question to you, Radhika. Tell us a little about your journey.
So I'm an investment banker turned entrepreneur. A couple of years back, I started Ricron. We spent a few years developing the technology around it. The technology being that it had to be, sustainable. The development that is required to meet our needs today is not at the cost of future generations being able to meet their own needs. So that was at the core of our philosophy that, whatever technology or whatever we come up with, the natural resources need to be saved, and we need to use existing resources and come up with our consumption demand. So that is how we came up with Ricron panels. They are a construction panel that can be used for housing. You can make a sofa, you can make chairs, kitchen cabinets. Anything that you can make with plywood is what you can make with Ricron. And so it's interesting that, we started with 50 tons a month. We came to 100 tons. Today we are 700 tons a month. We're exporting to US, South Africa. And it's quite cool, I think, that the plastic waste that we find in your bins is being exported all the way to US, and it's become a roof, and it is still viable after all the logistical costs.
That's fascinating to hear, but I will also say that please get Ricron panels next time for the panelist sofas. They don't sink in, right? I'm really struggling if anybody can see my pain. Okay. All right, let me just turn to you, Pankaj. Journey, how has it been? Ups and downs?
Yeah, seems to be very wiser in hindsight by now, but amazing journey. And I mean, like deep tech material science journey. Company started because one of my co-founders was lucky enough that his mom allowed him a home kitchen lab where he was able to synthesize something called graphene. Graphene is this monolayer of carbon. It is the only two-dimensional material in the world. There was a Nobel Prize that was given in 2011 for that. So there is this fantastic material. You can't see it, but it's stronger than steel. It's hyperconductive. It can do magic stuff. So the company got created, and that's why it's log 9. The 9 comes from 10 to the power minus 9. That's a meter, 10 to the minus 9 meter. That's what nano. So that's how the story starts. Now, we had this fantastic material. We didn't know what to do. So we thought, let's just blend it into plastics or something like that. Some of us figured out an idea that maybe we can make a cigarette filter out of it. Can I plug this thing at the end of a cigarette and smoke it up in a way that the tar gets killed off, that all the harmful compounds get killed off, but I get the nicotine pump in? And we were able to build it. And that day we did a math, and I said, you know what, if I charge 30 paisa per cigarette, it's like billions of dollars. We've done it. But it never took off because of some regulatory issues. So we had this fantastic material. Our first idea failed. We were 2 years down the journey. We said, what do we do next? We realized that we can change this material to be very oleophilic, so I can absorb oil, and this is very hydrophobic. It doesn't like water. So we created a graphene pads that can be thrown into ocean if there is an oil spill, and it'll absorb all that oil, and you can squeeze the oil out. Fantastic. We did some business. It took off, and we're very proud that we went in and cleaned up a lot of spills because of this product, but it never became a big success. 4 years down the road. Investors constantly asking, what are you going to do next? So by this time, we had figured out that if I can swap a little bit of this material in a battery, where there's a lot of carbon, if I can change that carbon with this hyperconductive carbon, I can change it, I can make it better, and boom. We found a product market fit, and in the next 2 years, we went from 20 people to 800.
That's a very fascinating story, and I'm glad that your cigarette business did not work. You would otherwise not be sitting on this panel and maybe not allowed entry in this room, but that's okay. You get lucky many times. Okay, Amit, ups and downs.
So we started while we were in 4th year of our BTech petroleum engineering degree. And we were trying to enter into upstream petroleum industry, which is a fairly complicated industry to get into. So the story starts with downs and downs, then a little up comes in the picture. So we had no experience, no team, no credibility, neither the age or the gray hair. And the idea that we had was into petroleum biotechnology. So sadly, we were petroleum engineers and we had no clue about biotechnology as well. So those were the downs. But we were able to manage to get a team. We were able to manage to get a PSU to fund us, to build a lab, to run the experiments. And in 4th year of our college, we raised around 1.7 CR in grant in 2017. And then in 2023, we were awarded the best startup in petroleum sector by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So that's the up. Thank you.
That's interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I have lots of questions, but I'm also very conscious that I've been told that it's your time, ROI, and not my time. So I'm going to go down to have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. If there are any, otherwise I'll continue with my series of questions. So any questions from the audience to any of these guys? Perfect. Yes, please. I will get you the microphone.
I have a quick question for Radhika. Like you are trying to make this. So are these in situ construction panels, like you are substituting building materials for plastic, or are they finishing materials?
Sorry, I didn't hear
I
the
mean,
last.
are these are you making walls and roof out of it, or the finishing materials?
So the brilliant thing about this is that you can use it as exterior applications as well as interior applications, just as like you would use plywood. So if you want to...
Yeah, so if you are using it for external application, now you said you are making a sustainable product, and you have again cross-cutting things. You have an energy code in place which talks about numbers like RETV, etc., which have to be, eventually even in affordable housing sector, they have to be met. So how are you ensuring that you are meeting the requirements of codes, etc., with relation to thermal efficiency and other factors while reusing plastic?
So that is a very good question. The way we ensure that the finished good product comes up with the same properties, mechanical or physical, is that our raw material selection process, which is patented, we accept I call it raw material, but the plastic waste from different industries, from automobile, from paper and pulp, from FMCG, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics. So the recipe that goes into it, that is our proprietary technology, where once you enter, once it is segregated and enters our finishing line, it ensures that the finished good product comes up with the same properties again and again. And then we have testing done, internal R&D team of the finished goods that test the thermal conductivity, electrical conductivity, etc. Yes, we do meet the code requirements of... Yeah, we're the first company in India to be certified as a green building material company by the IGBC and in the world.
Thank you. Yes, you have a question too, and that's the last question from the audience, and then I'll come back up here. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So my question is to Amit. So congratulations on this visionary carbon capture. But in India, we want everything cheap. And this is not something which is really comes cheap. So if you can just help us understand where are you on the cost curve, because CCU will be the key net zero solution if we have to keep some base load going and be cost competitive. So any thoughts on that, where you are in terms of cost curve, and what's the aim to make it really scale based? Thank you.
Sure. Can I know which industry are you from so that I can give you a better answer?
I head the power and the new energy research for CLSA, which is an investment bank.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the microbial technology that we are trying to deploy, the cost that we have put a cap on should not go beyond $40 per ton of carbon captured. And that is globally the best cost that you are going to get. So that is the research. We are currently at 1 ton per day capacity of deployment. In principle, we can do 10 tons per day capacity of deployment, which by the way is very less for power sector. But if you compare it with other systems that are out there for carbon capture in the similar sector, it's a massive deployment. And we are trying to build systems like dark reactors and stack reactors that we can stack over each other in presence of artificial light and all. We have some breakthrough in the lab. So if we are able to do that, then scalability beyond 10 ton is also possible. If we are not able to do that, 10 ton is the limit as of now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those are the two brilliant questions which allowed me to get some sentiment from the room. Let me just turn back again to Rishabh this time. And every time we hear saying we are wiser in the hindsight, and I've heard it a few times already, if you had the unlimited power 5 years ago, what would you do differently? Sorry? If you had unlimited power, so no constraints, what would you have done differently?
I think we would have scaled faster. We would have started bigger. Probably instead of starting with those 70 cars which we started with, we would have started with, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 or whatever, and really gone big bang into it. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that had we done that, things may not have worked out as well as they have, because, when we started that slow growth stage, and we had 2 COVID waves in between, during which, mobility business had completely shut down. So it gave us time to build a lot of tech, which today is currently, helping us to deliver the service or the promise, which we may not have been able to do had we, started off at a very, very quick pace. So I think eventually, I mean, all these gaps, while they were not good for business in the early stages, that helped. And today we are in a position where we are really now kicking it up. We are today in Delhi. We have close to 5,000 cars here. We also in Bangalore with close to 1,000 cars. Also going to an international market very, very soon in the next 30 days.
Perfect. One follow-on question. Do you still, what is your differentiator? Is it technology? Is it execution? Is it something else? What is it?
So, I would say that, our differentiation is constant innovation. We have various
That sounds like a consultant answer. I'm looking at an innovator answer.
Yeah. So in fact, I've also done an MBA, so pardon me.
MBA doesn't make you consultant. You have to use this, all right? Sorry about that.
Anyway,
okay, please.
See, I mean, at a product level, we have various differentiations, right? On time, schedule model, no cancellation, no delays. At a technology level, how we make it work is that we have a connected ecosystem. So we have connected cars, we have connected chargers, we have, so at any point of time, we know what is the charge in the car. We know whether this car will be able to do a short trip or can it do a longer trip. We know which is the nearest charging station after completing the trip. Is that charging station available or not available? If it is not available, what is the queue length there? How much time will the driver have to wait there? So we know all of this. It's based on a lot of data being processed real time, and through that we have been able to build the system through which we are today delivering on the experience, without having this interconnected network of technology assets behind this entire thing. I don't think we would have been able to deliver our promise of no delays and no cancellations.
Perfect. Thank you. Pankaj, you actually had a very fascinating pivoting journey, and now you have so many people. What are the challenges of running a small company with innovation as a backbone and now running a relatively large company? So do people scale create different challenges, and what are those for you?
Yeah, it's, I think the first thing that happens is when you're small, you have you're involved in the innovation curve also at a founder's level. So 30 people, 2 rooms, walking in and out and soldering things ourselves and doing material science work ourselves. So very close to tech. As we scaled, I mean, there's a lot of innovation happened. Like Log9 today has about 135 patents that we filed in the last 2 years. And
135 patents. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Makes me feel proud.
But I've realized that innovation is never distant from the heart. It seems that innovation gets murky as the scale comes up, but you always have those ninjas that were there with us at the start of it, and that's the core team that we've had. We've not lost them. I'm super proud to tell that in an industry which is so cost competitive, at a employee base of 800, our attrition rate is less than 1%.
Wow, 1%.
So that means there is a glue that's holding people up. And what is
You're
that?
not an MBA, right?
I am not, sir.
Oh, see, you get the difference? Okay, I'm an MBA. I have a huge attrition.
I have 3
Nobody
degrees.
wants to work for an MBA because it's just BS.
No. But I think what's happened is that there is a fragrance of the founding team that emanates into the core team first, and that fragrance that continues to emanate from those 20 to 40 to 80. As long as you've nuclearized those first 40, 50 people along with you in the same direction, and everybody is pointing towards the same North Star, I don't think innovation loses its track.
Fantastic. So innovation continues. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn to Radhika. You talked about that, irrespective of the size, the DNA, etc. Many years ago, I had read a quote, I think it was from Warren Buffett, which basically said that invest in a company which an idiot can run. Invest in a company which an idiot can run, because someday an idiot will run. So when do you think you will get to a stage where you say, I've done enough, and now, because you achieved 1, 2, 3, now an idiot CEO can run?
So let me answer that question.
Because you're an investment banker, I gave you that.
So very recently I saw this meme. So imagine a circle inscribed in a square, and the circle talks about all of the difficulties that you face in a startup environment, your attrition rate, your cash flows issues, MIS reports, investor reports, everything that you worry about in a day is, inscribed in that circle. And just outside the circle is success. So every time I am at a crossfront or at a crossroad, I'm like, okay, maybe, one more day of this discomfort and I'm going to reach that success. And every day I'm like, okay, no, one more day, no, one more day, no, one more day, one more month, one more year. And the realization came that, I'm always going to be at that circumference. The pie just getting bigger. The circle of, the size of the circle just keeps getting bigger. And I don't think that, as you grow through your failures, you are more ambitious, and that success that, okay, today I don't need to do anything, let anyone do it, I don't think that ever comes. So you're always going to be at that circumference.
So stay hungry, stay foolish is what's your mantra. I think that's a great one. I'm now going to turn to a bit of a rapid fire. So no long answers, no certainly consultant answers. So straight. Let me start with you, Amit. What's, in your opinion, most important for success of an innovation-led company? Is it grit? Is it luck? Or investor?
Oh, I have been lucky, although, but that's not the answer. Clients, actually. Instead of
that's kind of thinking outside the box. That's an MBA answer. Okay.
No, actually,
I get you there. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Amit. So clients, Rishabh. Great luck or investor? What's most important for you?
I think people.
People. Very good. Yeah. Thank you so much. Radhika? People. Okay, now there's a copied answer.
I think focus.
Focus. So, okay, that's a great one. I think you guys did very well on this question because you all went outside the box. Tell me one fun fact about you.
That I've done 3 degrees, one in biotech, one in English literature, and one in computer science.
My God, 3 degrees. 135 patents. I'm not going there. Thank you so much. Radhika, fun fact.
I took my laptop to the labor room.
That shows dedication. Thank you. Rishabh. Fun fact.
So, I think we've used the term MBA a lot. So, I'm an accidental MBA. I did not intend to do an MBA, but My friend got a form and I wrote CAT and I accidentally got into IIM Ahmedabad without doing any preparation. And I spent 2 years after that trying to get back into the tech role, and hope now I've succeeded. So,
Accidental MBA, I like that, Amit.
So after my engineering, I am pursuing Masters of Art and Philosophy to really understand how human mind works and how technologies are developed. So I'm really doing that. I'm in the second year of my Masters of Arts and Philosophy.
Perfect. Now, let's turn to you for the next question as well. You've heard 3 other people here innovating differently. If you were to invest in one of these 3 companies, which one would that be?
If I were to invest in any of the 3 companies.
Yeah, don't say that I'll invest all in mine.
No,
That's
no.
okay.
No. So in the beginning of session, he said data is the new oil and I deal with oil, so I cannot invest in that company, definitely. Okay. Right? He's trying to replace oil-based cars, so definitely no. So I have no option but to go with Radhika.
Oh, unfortunately, by choice of eliminating
Most favorable.
other options. Yeah. But that's, Radhika, you got one investor for you. Okay, Rishabh?
I think I would probably invest in Log9 because I think they can really help us in the longer term. They are making some, doing really good work in the battery science space, and we run EVs. So I think there's a definitely synergy which is there in the future.
Very nice. I think there's definitely synergies in the future. Thank you so much. Radhika?
I think I would invest in BluSmart because, it tackles issues that are close to my heart, especially pollution, sustainable way of living. So I would invest in BluSmart.
Thank you so much. And Pankaj, who would you invest in?
I've already decided every penny of my earning has to go back to the climate. It doesn't matter who.
Your choice is 3. So babes.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them. Again, I think we got some consultants in the room. Depends. You could look at the answer. See, as a consultant, I have 10 phrases which work all the time. I think 3 of them have been used here today, but hopefully I'm still left with 7, which I'm not going to disclose today. I could carry on and on and on. As you can see that these are... Okay, that's a good idea. So maybe let me just do a show of hands saying who would invest in Pankaj Log9. Show of hands. You can't invest in more than one. So, okay, so don't raise hand for everything, okay? Yeah, no consultant answer, real industry answers. Okay, so who's there to invest in Log9? Okay, good. I've got a good sense. Thank you so much. Who would invest in Ricron panels? Fantastic, good. Rishabh, who will invest in BluSmart? Okay, very good, roughly same. And Amit, those of you who understood what Amit does, yes, perfect. Okay, so can I have a round of applause for these four guys? The reason Anish asked that question is because he wanted to prove that he got the 4 most amazing and most relevant companies for this room. So for that, thank you so much, Anish, for putting it all together. And thank you, all of you, for playing along with me. And thank you once again to all of you for being a wonderful audience. If you did not understand it, I do want to say that consultants make money on all of their successes. If you have any doubt, please come and tell me. I will hopefully try and way to get you there. Thank you so much, and have the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Akhilesh. I think panel turned into Shark Tank. Some feedback for us, maybe investor session next time. So on that note, thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Akhilesh. May I request a token of appreciation, Akhilesh, if you could hand over to all the panelists, please. Thank you. So we will now have a short break. Honorable Minister